Oh, it took so long, but I think we did it. I think that's my Celestial. Well, that puts me in top 100, right? Oh my god, I can finally get off and edit more YouTube videos.
Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Kelly, back again with another guide. Some of you guys might know me as the Moon Knight win trick, but I'm here to say that I've picked up on another character. One that's a little bit more devious than my former main. I've won a ton with Wolverine to get to top 100, and although he's a simple design, there's a ton to learn here to maximize value with him. Like always, let's begin with some simple golden rules that all Wolverine players must drill into their own gameplay. You need to go for the vanguards, and you need to prioritize not dying. The first one is always the simplest. Everyone knows that the Wolverine is the tank buster character. Due to his main attack stats, he effectively doubles his damage against a high HP target. Just watching these two clips side by side, although Groot has over double Luna Snow's HP, he dies less than a second after Luna does. Some people take this as a suggestion of some sort that you should go for the tanks, but instead you should treat it as a rule that you must go for the tanks first and always. It's not an exaggeration to say as a Wolverine, you seek out the tanks like a hungry zombie, almost to the point where you ignore everyone else around you. You get so much value as Wolverine by staying in the front lines, slashing the tanks, forcing cooldowns, and building your rage. All of your cooldowns should be used on tanks. Your leap, your slash, and even your ult most of the time should be used on the enemy vanguards, just because it offers more value for your team. The next one sounds really simple, but is arguably the most important thing for Wolverine. You must understand that Wolverine essentially dictates the flow of the fight by simply being present. Majority of the game, your value stems from making space by making yourself known to the enemy tanks, forcing them to concede choke points. Weirdly enough, for a hero that's whole character is not dying, it's really easy to feed as Wolverine if you aren't prioritizing your own life. This ties into the gameplay loop, but a Wolverine that is simply alive and is there already is doing half the work they need to. Once again, that's just the easy stuff. The hard stuff is actually putting it into practice in actuality. The first thing Wolverine does in every teamfight is exert pressure on the enemy tanks. Most other characters do this by shooting the enemy tanks. Wolverine just does it by poising to leap the enemy in, even if you aren't planning to. There are little other characters in this game that can force the enemy to walk back just by staring at them. You need to realize as Wolverine, tanks are scared of you because the moment they make a mistake, it's you that takes them in instantly. Walk forward, take high grounds, look like you're about to make a move, and just watch as the enemy runs away from you, giving your team an opportunity to push forward. Oftentimes, I'll shout and even slash him with no intention of really doing anything. But if you keep doing that, eventually you'll see an opening to leap someone in. Wolverine's leap is one of the best abilities in the game, yet it's extremely dodgeable and cancelable. The trick to landing it? You just have to wait until they stop looking at you. It's as simple as that. When you put pressure on the enemy tanks, they're forced to concede space and allocate resources by looking at you. But eventually, they'll realize how much they're giving up, and will look back against the other 5 people on your team. That's the opportunity you need. The key to playing Wolverine is patience, because missing that leap usually costs you the team fight. It is always worth to wait that extra few seconds for the enemy tank to lower their guard, usually on the signal of your team pushing in. The most consistent way of pitting an enemy tank in is by dashing behind them, then leaping them in. Though I must mention that since the hitbox is completely around you, you can just straight up dash into the enemy tanks, turn around, and leap them in also, though I find this one extremely unreliable. Just take a good off angle, wait for the opportunity, and don't miss that chance. The last part of his gameplay loop is what makes him so valuable in today's meta. After you've done the first 2 parts, either you win the teamfight off of that pick, in which case you'll simply set up and repeat in the next teamfight, or the more likely case, both teams pop their support ults. This is honestly a very favorable situation for Wolverine. When both teams pop their support ults, Wolverine is able to get in with no punishment and build up his rage to max. This means that when those support ults finish, Wolverine is almost always guaranteed to land a crucial leap on the tank, or he can just brawl out with his max rage. The point here is, when support ults are popped, Wolverine is single-handedly one of the best characters on the field. A max rage Wolverine in your face? That's something no other character can really deal with. So when you hear your supports ulting, don't be afraid to just run in and start building rage, though you do need to save your cooldowns for the moment the ults end. To put it all together, the gameplay loop of Wolverine always goes like this. You begin the fight by pressuring the tanks, forcing them to give up as much space as you can. You then take a good off angle, away from your team, but not that far away from the enemy tanks. You then continue to bully them with the threat of a leap, until they eventually concede and then stop paying attention to you. That's when you finally pin it. If you get that pick, cool, you clean up the rest of the enemy team. If the supports save the tank, however, then you brawl out in the middle of your support ults to build up your rage. Then you finally end the team fight with a good leap or a swift ultimate. There are a ton of nuances that you can learn on any character with enough playtime. In this video, I'll share a couple that I keep in the back of my head to better my gameplay with Wolverine. The first is that Wolverine really isn't a character until he has a decent amount of rage. If you pin in a tank and are surprised to see them living, it's probably because you did it with 0 rage. You have to try to stock it up before you really do anything. Most of the time, I try to slash in, hit the tanks a little, and then get back out. And then I'll repeat this to make sure my rage doesn't diminish. The difference of pinning a tank in with 0 rage and high rage is almost night and day. Also, you should never ult with 0 rage, as the damage you do is almost non-existent. A trick here is that you can also build rage by slashing a misplaced Loki clone or even a Namor squid. Anything to get that passive meter up. The second is to protect your passive. Don't think of your passive as something you're going to use every team fight. It's better to think of it as a mistake check. It allows you to misplay every once in a while without being punished too heavily. Too many times do Wolverine players go in with the intent that they're going to use it. A good Wolverine barely has his passive activated at all, and you should instead protect it like it's your life, because you might just need it in that really close overtime fight. The last one is something even I personally struggle with. Wolverine needs to get into the enemy faces to actually do stuff, yet he doesn't really have an ability that allows him to. His leap should never be used to go in with, and his slash is too short ranged for an engage. Wolverine needs to use the map geometry, even more than other characters. The difference between a high and low level Wolverine is how good their pathing is. You have to hug those walls really tightly to minimize the amount of early poke you take before the actual engage. And that's it for the Wolverine video. I try to stream as much as I can on YouTube, so please subscribe to catch one of them. And please feel free to let me know what other videos you want. I really enjoy making these. See you guys next time.